Joe Pyfer recently had his post-fight press conference, and today, guys, I wanted to sit back and I wanted to react to it for you guys because I already listened to this, and I want to pose this question to you, and I would love to know what you guys think about it down below afterwards. Is Joe Pyfer really getting all of the hate that he deserves? Because there's some ways that he kind of thinks that I kind of find myself agreeing with, but of course, not everything. I still think Joe Pyfer is incredibly salty, as Lucas Tracy would say, salty man Joe Pyfer. We're going to get into this reaction in just a second. Before we do that, I do want to say, hello everybody, welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. We're going to get into this reaction. We're going to watch it in just a second. Sorry for the long intro, by the way. I just want to say, I could not find a press conference without that staticky microphone or just the ee sound that you're going to hear. That's the UFC's end. That's not me. It's MMA Junkie, or not even MMA Junkie. Whoever's running these press conferences, man. I just made a video recently talking about what the UFC should be doing to fix their organization. This is something, man. Like, they got to fix this audio over there. So, again, apologies. Not my fault, though. Nothing we can do.
And you called out Paul Craig. Why specifically Paul Craig?
I don't know. I don't like the dude. That's the only thing I can say is I don't really like the guy. Something about his fucking face, and I think it's the antics. Like, he'll get in your face and be all, you know, theatrical, and then he gets touched and he falls down like a back princess. So I don't.
And this is coming from a big Paul Craig fan. I have no problems with Paul Craig, but what I do like about Joe Pyfer, and this is what I like about quite a few guys, like Arman Sarukian, for example. I love it, and I don't know about how you guys feel, but I don't like necessarily how everybody, if they have bad blood or if they don't like somebody, they have to man up and just show some respect. I think it's okay to dislike people, and I think it's okay to dislike people after you're done fighting them. So it was a breath of fresh air seeing guys like Joe Pyfer, seeing guys like Arman Sarukian, and honestly, to be honest with you, it kind of makes the sport more exciting in my opinion. But this is coming from a big Paul Craig fan. If these two ever fight, I'm going to be cheering for Paul Craig all day.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense too. You know, logistically, it actually makes sense to me. He was number 14. He fought Kyle. He lost. And now I don't know where he's at, whether he's 15 or just outside the rankings. And I'm number 19, and I just got to win. So let's line it up. That's what I'm.
And honestly, like, that does make sense for Joe Pyfer's career. I think that is the next matchup they should make, especially if Joe Pyfer's starting up this kind of, I don't know if Paul Craig's going to bite, but this beef that they could potentially have, or, I mean, it's real on Joe Pyfer's end, right?
I'm interested in, so why not? I'm doing my job. It'll be fun.
Has he said anything to you specifically?
Nah, he just fucking looked at me weird one time. I don't even think he remembers, but I hold grudges, so fuck him.
But this is the thing that people talk about Joe Pyfer. Don't get me wrong, I think that there is quite a few problems with the way Joe Pyfer does conduct himself, but I think it's okay to hold grudges. I never understood that, like, oh my god, you need to grow up. Let it go. No! I mean, like, the problem is, did Paul Craig actually look at him funny? That's the issue. That's what we don't really know. If Paul Craig was like giving him a weird look or something, and obviously you know how you can communicate messages to each other without actually saying anything. If something like that happened, then there's no issue with Joe Pyfer just disliking him for one time the way he looked at him.
And you did mention Kyle Bohelio, so I just want to ask about this middleweight division in general. You have guys like you, Bo Nickel, Kyle Bohelio, Shara Bullets made some waves. So what do you make of kind of this young crop of middleweights that are kind of rising up the rankings all at the same time?
Yeah, we all got our niche of what we're good at. You know, we're all tough, and we all have our area expertise. So it's good. It's exciting. I think the middleweight is probably one of the most dangerous divisions, right?
I wouldn't say that right now, but I think it's turning into be. Like, they're the middleweight talent that's coming up right now. Like you said, like you talk about Shara Bullet, you talk about Joe Pyfer, you talk about Kyle Barajo. There are some amazing fighters coming up in the middleweight division. I can't wait to see how it plays out in a couple of years.
In my opinion, as far as power, I don't think we're the most complete, but it's getting there. It's a deep division. You know, Robert's really good. Izzy's obviously good. There's a ton of really good strikers in this division. So,
and I think that's something else that's really important to know, because people like to, and they don't do it so much anymore, but in the past they've really lumped the middleweight division within like heavyweight or 205 or women's 135. The competition for middleweight does not belong in the same tier people kind of place those other divisions in. It's a really good solid division.
Oh, and I'm among them. And I'm among one of the hardest hitting ones, so yeah, I love it.
Joe over here. Would you like to get another?
Yo,
I know, Canadian. It's all good.
It's all good.
I didn't take it
Oh
personally.
no, I don't know what happened with the Canadian card there.
So don't worry. Do you want a 5-round fight for your next one? Because that was something.
No.
Okay.
No.
Just in terms of, I thought, more experience in the 5 rounds, and you mentioned not being.
And that's something else too, that you'd have a lot of fighters just sit back and go, oh yeah, give me 5 rounds, give me main event. I like that Joe Pyfer's being smart about his career. I like that Joe Pyfer's being honest that he might run out of gas again. That's obviously why he doesn't doesn't want the 5-round fight.
Happy with what some of the stuff that was said, maybe to prove him wrong, right? Because
Yeah, no, listen, I would fight Paul Craig in 5 rounds if they wanted to make it a main event. I just don't know if it makes sense for them to make 2 guys that aren't ranked a 5-round fight.
That would be a fantastic main event. I don't know about you guys, but I think that would be a fantastic main event. I think that he just doesn't want to do 5 rounds, to be honest with you. But I understand where he's coming from, too. But at the end of the day, they're 2 really, really good names, in my opinion, at least. And it is definitely main event worthy.
So, and I'm not looking to jump into the rankings super soon. I took my dabble, and just because I got 1 win doesn't mean that I'm ready to take on the champion. So I think, let me get 1 or 2 more repetitions in against tough opponents, and let me start with Paul Craig and see where we're at, and then maybe we can do that.
And I love that. It's a really, really smart way to go about your career. And I don't know, Sean, it's ringing a bell a little bit that Sean O'Malley was kind of taking this approach. I don't know if that was the UFC. I don't know if that was him, but there was another fighter who was like, I'm not ready yet. Don't just feed me to the wolves yet. I think that it's a smart way to approach your career.
didn't look like you took much damage tonight. When do you want to have that next fight?
I would like to fall. If it's that fight, I would like to fall. But one thing I promised myself, which I haven't done since I broke my elbow on the first Contender Series, which is almost 5 years ago, is I'm going to take a vacation. And I've been saying I was going to do it, but I keep lying to myself, so I can't wait to do that. And I can't wait to dirt bite, baby.
Where are you going on vacation?
See, it's things like this that actually make Joe Pyfer likable, and this is what I don't like. Of course, it's the internet. Of course, everybody just takes the most unlikable thing about Joe Pyfer and makes it public. And don't get me wrong, again, there are some things that Joe Pyfer says and does that kind of, it's understandable to get the backlash on, right? But he isn't this, like, giant weirdo. I don't think, at least, that everybody kind of makes him out to seem. It's just sometimes he gets too caught up in his feelings a little bit,
Vacation.
I have no idea. Somewhere tropical. Fuck this desert shit. Sucks ass.
He's just honest.
Fucking 3 birds here the whole time I've been here. Dog shit. So definitely tropical, beachy, and nice weather.
And everybody likes Sean Strickland because Sean Strickland's honest. What about Joe Pyfer,
You talked about the fans a bit, on the media day. Do you feel like this is the type of performance that people are going to jump back on the bandwagon?
I hope they fucking fall off the bandwagon. I hope that shit goes over the cliff and they all die. I don't care. Bro.
That's what I'm talking about, man. This is actually the attitude that I enjoy because how many fighters probably feel like this and just have to say, oh, I'm just going to turn everybody into a fan. Everybody's just going to see I'm going to go out there and prove myself, and everybody's going to feel different about me. Listen to that again.
On the media day, do you feel like this is the type of performance that people are going to jump back on the bandwagon?
I hope they fucking fall off the bandwagon. I hope that shit goes over the cliff and they all die. I don't care.
Dude, this is what I like about Joe Pyfer, man.
Bro, at the end of the day, everybody switched up when I lost. They said I got fraud checked, all this bullshit. I'm a human being, man. I have injury after injury after injury, so that's why I take it so much to heart, and that's why sometimes I have a bad attitude, And I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to you either, but sometimes I'm just pissed off, man, because some of the questions are, like, repetitive, and then it's just, I feel like everybody was counting me out because I lost a decision. I mean, it's like, guys, I didn't even get rocked. I didn't get dropped. I didn't get submitted. I wasn't outclassed. I lost by 1 round. I got hit in the eyeball in the 3rd round. Couldn't fucking see the guy. I lost the fight.
Now, a lot of people can look at this and talk about it being excuses. It kind of is excuses, but at the end of the day, it does make sense. If anybody could clear this up in the comments, I would appreciate it. I don't recall if Joe Pyfer was blaming his loss on an injury against Jack Hermanson, but he's totally right. He's totally right. Most people are NPCs. Most people are followers. Most people just want to watch somebody who's winning, and then when somebody loses, they're completely off the train over here. And he's not wrong for being salty about that. I wholeheartedly don't believe that. I don't know about you guys, but this is the type that I like about Joe Pyfer. Like, I hope the bandwagon drives off a cliff and they all die, he says. I mean, obviously, if I was a UFC fighter and people jumped off my bandwagon, I wouldn't wish death upon them, but it's just funny how honest he is. And he's right. He's a human being. Things happen. That fight was difficult, and he showed that he can go 5 rounds with Jack Hermanson. Not your regular fighter can do that. Jack Hermanson's a fantastic athlete.
And everybody was just making it seem like I was just some fucking dog shit fighter. So, yeah, I was pissed.
That's true. That's true. Everybody was saying that type of stuff. Oh, fraud check. Fraud check. Joe Pyfer sucks.
Did you figure out now, sorry, this is my last question. Did you figure out that Mark does speak English? That was something you said immediately.
Yeah, 100%. I do retract my statement. He does speak good English. And one thing I'm trying to be nice about, like, which I'm allowed to be happy for my moment, but I think he's such a good dude. I didn't realize he was so involved with, like, men's mental health and things like that. I definitely have had my fair share of just fucking being a moron and having to learn to grow up, and it's hard, and it's it's mental health is something you battle every day. Some of us do it by ourselves, some of us reach out, and some of us never say a word. So nothing but respect for that man, and I hope to talk to him in the future, and I told him I would.
That'd be really cool, actually. I don't know what Marc-Andre is actually like, to what extent he's involved in mental health and that stuff. But again, it's not my place to say. I don't struggle with it personally, and I don't know too much about it.
Joe, next door here. I guess on that note, I know it's hard for fighters, especially, to talk about mental health. I feel like we're seeing it more. Any advice for your fellow colleagues who maybe think they're too tough to, get the help they need to figure that stuff out?
We're never too tough to get help. We're never too tough to reach out. That's just called ego. And, I've had to ask Sean many a times to listen to me rant, my coaches, John and Jonathan Webb. So, yeah, man, I mean, don't be afraid to ask for help. The only person you're hurting is yourself. And, you'll never fix the problem by avoiding it. Sometimes it hurts to face what the problem is, and it might just be you. But ask the questions and invest in having good friends and good friendships.
And this is exactly, sorry, I thought he was done speaking there, but this is exactly the type of thing that I like to see from Joe Pyfer. This is another side of Joe Pyfer that not everybody sees, and this is another side of Joe Pyfer that people are really, really overshadowing. And I get it. The meme's hilarious. Salty man, Joe Pyfer. I think that's so funny. I think it's hilarious that people are going onto his YouTube page and going, hey, Joe, fresh out of the salt mines, I see, eh? I think that's so funny, but people are really, really getting... I don't know about the wrong picture of Joe Pyfer, but I think that people are ignoring who Joe Pyfer is to some extent.
And they aren't the people that are just around when you're doing good shit.
As it pertains to those bandwagon fans who are now at the bottom of that cliff, is that something that, for you as an individual, is that something you need to pay less attention to, or is it something that you can actually source in a, positive, helpful way for your training and your fighting?
Yeah, man. So, I just wanted to rub it in just because... I'm petty.
But again, there's nothing wrong with being petty. I know what you're going to say. Israel Adesanya is petty. That's a different level of petty, and he is completely 100% unlikable. I don't think but even when Israel Adesanya is petty, like, for example, I think that it's so wrong that Israel Adesanya did what he did to Alex Pereira's kid for a multitude of reasons. I believe I made a video of that. But when he's just petty in, like, holding grudges and wanting to knock Alex Pereira out because he wanted to get him back, like, there's nothing wrong with that. I really don't. And for Joe Pyfer to be petty over here and talk about the fans who jumped off the Pyfer bandwagon and only liked him because he was winning, like, what kind of people do that, man? Weird people who just follow.
But I've done a good job. I keep mentioning him, but, Sean's somebody that got criticized when he lost his first fight, and I got to see how people were saying a lot of shit about him, and the guy's 16-1.
And it's true. So many people talk about these UFC fighters like, oh my God, what a crap fighter. What a crap fighter, these people. And they're obviously, I'm using better language than people would, but it's like these people who are fat, doing nothing, sitting behind their basement microphone, just doing absolutely nothing with their life, criticizing Sean Brady for losing to Bilal Muhammad. Like, you would lose to Bilal. Could you imagine what Bilal Muhammad would do to you? Honestly, man. Honestly. And he's exactly right. And I don't think that Joe Pyfer should have any respect or appreciation for any people who just follow Joe Pyfer for the sake of Joe Pyfer winning. And then as soon as he loses, you're off the bandwagon. You hate the guy. You make fun of the guy. Like, the reason to make fun of him is the salt mines thing. That's different. I'm talking about the people. You guys understand what I'm talking about. MMA fans, they just like somebody when they're winning and then they're gone. It doesn't make sense. I will never understand that mindset.
Came back and then dusted your boy fucking Calvin, right? And I got to see all the critics like start with him, and I was like, man, don't worry about it, whatever, And then it happened to me, and I lost in the UFC, and then it's like everybody switches up and thinks that you're a fraud and they hate you and all this. It just really shows you get less views, you get less attention, and it's just like, man, this is really what's hot is hot, and that's what they care about. So I've just kind of detached my emotions from these people. On social media. I really haven't been on social media. I didn't stay on my phone hardly at all this week, and it was a blessing. Your phone is probably your worst fucking enemy, honestly.
It is for most people, but like, I don't know, man. I get negative, maybe I'm just weird. I get negative comments all the time on YouTube, and I either laugh about it or I reply to it. It's not a big deal. It just doesn't have a strain on my mental health, but I could imagine for Joe Pyfer having somebody like millions and millions of people. Here's the thing, like, I don't, like, here's the thing where I kind of sympathize with Joe Pyfer, where it's like, you're in his position. You are coming to the UFC. You are on your way to being somebody who is majorly successful, more successful than these people will see in their entire generations. And you're seeing those people laughing at Joe Pyfer. You're seeing those people laugh at your existence, laughing because you lost a fight. Like, what are you doing with your life over here? I will never understand that mentality of people. I never ever will. People like Joe Pyfer, and I'm not even saying the way he goes about life, I'm not saying being petty, I'm not saying like to have his attitude, but people like Joe Pyfer are people to look up to. You would want to be successful like Joe Pyfer. If you manage to be a fraction of the success that Joe Pyfer is on track to be, then you've done something completely correct with your life. So for Joe Pyfer to have to sit here and listen to those types of people really make fun of him, that must be difficult.
And all those turds that are on the fucking on Instagram wasting their life to go on other fighters' pages to talk shit, they all can suck fat dick. They're bums.
And this is what I'm talking about. Again, there's nothing wrong with him disliking these. I never understood that. Yo, well, Joe Pyfer, have some respect. Have some class, Joe Pyfer. Why? Why should he suck up to those people? Why should he go on the Instagram comment sections, the people laughing at him, the people laughing at his existence? Why should he ever want to get those people back to liking him? Who cares? I would feel the same way.
Losers. That's the definition of a loser. When you look at yourself in the mirror and you do that to other people that are professionals, you should probably fucking tap out. Get out of here.
And I'm not saying that people are above criticism. Like I said, there's some things that Joe Pyfer does and some things that Joe Pyfer says that I don't necessarily like. But just, I'm talking about the way that Joe Pyfer kind of carries himself, and I don't think there's anything wrong, and I think this is a nice breath of fresh air to see people actually talking crap to the fans like this.
Out of here.
Who had you in more trouble today, Barrio or those flax seeds you accidentally ate?
Flaxseed,
Okay,
baby.
and this
I
is
was fucking
okay,
itching.
and
I was rash.
This is where we're gonna kind of stop the press conference because we start talking about that and we start talking about the fight a little bit more. But I just wanted to shed some light a little bit on Joe Pyfer, and I wanted to give my take. And again, I would love to know what you guys think about this down below. It's different when you're talking about people legitimately just talking crap to Joe Pyfer and the people who have just necessarily been playing up with the meme. I understand those are two very, very different communities, but the lack of respect I'm seeing for UFC fighters in general, you're seeing it a lot with Michael Chandler as well. Like, ha ha ha, Michael Chandler, you're not going to get a payday. Like, dude, I feel bad for the guy. I don't understand. Like, what has Michael Chandler necessarily done to warrant everybody laughing at them? People are laughing at Michael Chandler right now because he is so much more successful and is trying to do something extremely successful. Take the YouTube journey, for example. I've been very fortunate in my life that this hasn't happened to me personally, but how many people have you seen that try to be on TikTok, try to be a YouTuber, and everybody just laughs at them and thinks about it and thinks how cringe it is? It's because they realize that they're not doing anything better with their own lives, that they lash out at other people. They do the same thing with UFC fighters, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with Joe Pyfer's mentality specifically when it comes to this press conference. Again, I'm not saying that I love everything that Joe Pyfer does. I'm not saying that. I think that he can be over the top sometimes, but when you're talking about the fans, I think it's completely warranted, and for the fans to give him backlash on this, I don't understand personally. And I would love to know, again, what you guys think about this down below afterwards. Thank you very, very much for watching. If you guys are interested, check out this video on screen right now. It is another reaction video from Cage Side Convos talking about things the UFC needs to fix. Thank you very much for being here, guys. Take care.